for the night for this hotel. No toilets. I'm running out of that. Yeah, I'm heading into Kazakhstan here. Running water is scarce here. These guys were pretty cool. A couple of I think they were Polish. They were all right. Desolate road, a nothing road into. This is where I had to hit the locust and all that kind of stuff. And this is like a 300-mile road of zero stuff. And so I say to them, and what are you guys, they were going in the opposite direction. What are you guys doing here? And they say, yeah, and what are you doing here? Yeah, they were. I had no better answer. Yeah, it's starting to grow the beard. Yeah. Bad day. I'm on the border with Kazakhstan. 110 degrees, bugs, flies, tough, very tough day. Now, this is the one this is pretty good. This woman here, I had to get out of the heat, and it looked like it's a cafe. Again, at this point, I can't tell what's what. It doesn't say cafe, and it was, there's no menu. It's the one thing she's cooking, okay, and that's what you're having, okay, yeah, and like somewhere it's go from one country to another pretty well, and the word soup or soupa kind of like moved with me, so I kept using that word, and she wouldn't take any money, poor as hell, poor. American, tourist, American, welcome, tourist, those are the only three words she wouldn't take any money. I finally gave her some money. And then I started to ride away, and I thought, I got to do more for this woman. So I turned around, and I came back, and I had because I had her money. And at this point, I'm still in Russia, I believe. I had rubles, so I paid her some rubles. But I turned around, and I came back, and I had a euro, and I had an American dollar. And I gave her that too, and she was just thrown to death, It was really good. Yeah, 110 degrees. Okay, I'm going to stop it here. I'm going to use the men's room real quick here. I've been drinking water all day. I slept with these guys, okay? And I slept with the camels.
So you're his brother,
Yes, I am.
and you ride.
Hell no. I drove up here. All the way to bypass 28. No, he lives in, I think he lives in North Reading.
Okay.
And that's right on the Manchester.
Okay.
So I think the question about the ATM, about the money,
Yeah.
the bank takes care of that. If you have ATM, it's like going to Canada. You want to take out $100, and it'll spit out. When you get your statement, it'll be like $105, whatever the exchange is. The bank does all the math on that.
Yeah, in Canada, I tried to withdraw some money, and they wouldn't let me. Well, it just wouldn't work. And then they offered another way to do it, to get around their system, and I got the money. But it was weird.
Exactly the same thing happened to me.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like in Canada.
Sault Ste. Marie. The minute I got into Canada, I tried to get money, I couldn't get it.
Yeah.
And I'm in Canada,
Yeah.
I'm not in Thailand. This is at this point in the trip, what happened now, I'm in Kazakhstan, and it's in the desert, as you can see. So I had to start changing the way I rode every morning, or every day. So what I would do is, if I slept with these guys, I would get up and I would ride till about 10:30 in the morning, and then it would be 100 degrees. And so I would find my first safe place, like gas station / convenience store. I would sit there till 3:30, 4 o'clock. I literally would sit for 5 hours and play solitaire, eat, take a nap, or what have you. Then I would get back on the road at around 3:30, 4 o'clock, cycle into the night, sleep in the desert, and then do it again the next day. And I did that routine about 10 different times. It was too hot. I couldn't take a chance. Too hot. I would literally go out and I would ride about 300 feet and I would turn around and say, no, I can't do it. It's still too hot. So at the first third of the trip, I was averaging 95 miles a day. Once I got into Kazakhstan in China, I went down to 75 a day because of those conditions. And then when I got back into the United States, I was back up to about 90 miles a day. So I just could not ride in midday. It was too difficult, and I didn't, it wasn't ride at all costs. This was not ride or die. This is be safe, See the word hotel on the right-hand side, even though I'm right there at the Kazakh border. You can see the hotel word, the camels again. Yeah. I cycled the South Island of New Zealand years ago, 8, 9 years ago, and one time I opened up a gate and there's a building over there. Okay, I'll just put my tent behind that building over there. So I open up the gate, I go behind the building, close the gate and what have you, and I start setting the tents all set up, and then a couple horses come over. Okay, I was in a corral, I didn't know it. Okay, and the horses, they see the tent and they start pawing at the tent. Okay, trying to figure out what it is, and it was all okay. And I gave them an apple or something. And my thought goes, I wonder what camels think. Yeah. So they didn't care. They were gone the next day. Yeah, just stay with it. This was a workhouse. I was trying to get out of the heat again, and I didn't know if this was a hotel. It was just a brick building in the middle of the desert. And I knocked on the door, and it was a bunch of laborers. And I was waking them up, and it was all good, and they loved it. And I gave them some of my food. They gave me green tea, which is the universal drink, in the world. And yeah, it was. I showed them my map of Kazakhstan, and they couldn't read it, but it was all good. I was not afraid. This is sleeping in the desert. It's right in the desert. Yep. Yep. Now I'm on the train. I'm on the train. I've made it to Ataru, Kazakhstan. I've cycled every day for 38 days in a row. No days off. I've traveled like 3,500 miles. And I get to this hotel. Now I knew this part of the trip would fall apart. I knew I had to get to the other side. I researched it extensively. Googled it. Used the road number. I think the road is the E38 road or something. And I cycling Kazakhstan. I did all the keywords I could and found literally no success stories of anybody cycling that road. I only had one choice really. The northern route was way too far. And I got no success stories. But what I did find at times, a couple of times, when I Googled it, is I found some guys in London that were doing a road rally. They have all the time and the money, and they're racing to Mongolia. Okay? Ready, set, go. No rules. So they were on the road at one point that I wanted to be on. So they had some YouTube videos and some blogs about being on that road. And I knew before I got there I didn't want to be on that road. I didn't want to cycle it. I knew it. So when I finally got to Ataru, Kazakhstan, I stayed in a cheap hotel. The woman spoke English. I said, I want to get to Almaty, 1,500 miles on the other side of the country. Almaty. And she said, you take the train. That's the only way to do it. 2-day train. And she walked me through it, and she helped me. She was very good. Again, it could be a long story. She really helped me. She even met me at the train station, making sure that I would get on the right train like the next day. And so I took a 2-day train the tickets was like $20, $40, and $80, and I tried to buy the $40 ticket, and they said it wasn't available. It's always a scam. You always think it's a scam, They made me buy the $80 ticket. Thank God I did, because for the $80 ticket, I shared a berth with one guy. A $40 ticket is you share the same berth with 3 other people, same size. And a $20 ticket, you don't get a berth at all. For 2 days, you're sleeping in the aisle or sitting in a chair. 48 hours, yeah, for 20 bucks. Thank God I bought the $80 ticket. So they start, you know, they see you on the train, they know you're different. Everybody's a Kazakh there, they know you're different, but they can't tell. I got the beard going, they want to hear your voice. They die to hear your voice because they want to peg you, okay? Is he a German? Is he a Brit? Is he Canadian? And so these guys, at first they sent over some dried fish. Salted dried fish. I've seen it forever, but I've never eaten it. Now I'm on the spot because they sent me over this dried fish. Everybody's watching me, you know, and so I gotta not act like I'm completely ignorant so, or rude. So I start chomping on the dried fish, and now they send over a bear. And so I break out into some English, and now the word goes up. Who speaks English? They're looking through literally the whole train to find somebody that speaks English because they want to know who the heck I am, you know. And I gave it up. They found somebody who spoke a little bit of English. He was the interpreter. Now I'm holding court in the whole car, you know, the food car. And then I'm an American on a bicycle. But you know what? After 2 beers, out of there. Just because. Just, you know, can't get too friendly, can't let your guard down. And I was out of there. But it was okay, you know, but you just have to be careful. So now I take a 2-day train across Kazakhstan, I get out of the train, and now I'm on the road again. Here we are, I'm in eastern Kazakhstan. I think it was chicken, I don't know. I'm at 4,000 miles here. I'm at the China border. I could talk for an hour about how they wouldn't let me out of Kazakhstan. An hour. It took me 2.5 days to get out of Kazakhstan. I'm hanging around the border here. There was a wedding going on, so I took some pictures. But I finally got out of Kazakhstan. It was a long, long ordeal.
As you were beginning that, I know you've covered a lot of excellent details. That 1,500-mile road, would you comment on the concern of it?
It was, at times it was like 300 miles between even a little village, the tiniest village. And so I went through 300 miles and 110 degrees, I can't make it. I can't do it. At some points I carried 10 bottles of water, you know, like through the Sierra, you know, through the deserts, even in the United States. And I would go through all 10. And and that would be for 100 miles. I can't make 300.
Okay.
And even though the train stopped at some of these small villages, you get off the train and you know, you buy a few things or what have you. In some of these villages, camels were roaming around in the street, like sort of like domestic, you know, to give you an idea of what that village was like. I don't know. I'm sure there was. I would have been sleeping outside. So not only do I can't get water, I would have no services for. I think there was one stretch of like 600 miles, and then I had a town, and another stretch of another 600 miles. It was just too tricky. Too tricky. And I wasn't gonna, you know, I wanted to get back in one piece. I slept by the river here, waiting for some paperwork, and I got the paperwork. I'm trying to enter China here. China's not the problem, it's Kazakhstan. So these are some Kazakh boys. So now I'm in China. They're doing, this is just China bridge repair, bridge maintenance. The China boys, they call themselves. A lot of them spoke English. So I was on that road 30 minutes earlier, and I could see the bridge up there. And I'm saying, I'm not gonna have to bike up there, am I? And I did. You know, it took a while. Yeah, I mean, look at the distance. It's gotta be half a mile. Yeah. You just do them after a while. Like Brian, just do them, you know? Just your head down, just do them. It's better that I don't know how far it is. It just is. So this is my little, that's a 2-mile tunnel. I get booted off the road a lot by I get booted off the road 4 or 5 times by what I call the tunnel police. And what their function was, all the traffic here is truck traffic. They move their goods by truck, all right? But you know how we have weigh stations and stuff, but we don't use them anymore because everybody's in compliance all the time? Well, they have weigh stations over there that are in operation 24/7 to weigh the trucks for one, and also the trucks are overloaded. They're hanging out this side and that side, and they're too high. So they have the tunnel police that sit at the entrances to these tunnels every once in a while, and they'll pull over a truck and say, "You're not gonna fit." Especially if another truck is going in the other direction. So they'll yank them, all right? So the tunnel police were there for those trucks. But then they see me coming, you know, and they get a big kick out of me, right? Say, "Come on over, you're not going in there. You'll get crushed." And so, again, I throw out my passport, a 3-way conversation goes with somebody who speaks English, so they call up their friend who speaks English on the phone. And so, you know, they're saying, "Who am I, where am I going," and stuff. And so the tunnel police would say, well, it was all fun, it was all okay. They weren't upset. But they would flag down a truck, put me on it, and the truck would take me through the tunnel. Or there'd be 6 tunnels in 40 miles through the mountains, and they would tell the truck driver to take me 40 miles down the road and then let them off. So it was for my safety, you know. Yeah, which was good. You know, they said, "You can't go there."
I mean, that'd be a nightmare to ride through with a bike,
Yeah,
because there's no shoulder.
there's no shoulder. Once you got into it, the shoulder was gone. And so as I said, I'm in northern China here. I'm closer to Mongolia than Tibet. And then, you know, there's the Mongolian influence. There's yurts here. This is like, I would guess it was like a summer residence or something like that. They were probably shepherds or what have you. So, yeah, I saw some yurts. It was a couple days before this in Kazakhstan that I got caught in a sandstorm. That was no good. So, I'm in a sort of a major city. It's still remote, but there's a major city here, and they're showing some construction here. It doesn't do it justice. These are apartment buildings. There's 40 of them they're building. You can't see them all because they're back, you know, they're on the left-hand side here. So they're, you know, I'm sure, you know, I don't think we're doing this anywhere in the United States, okay? There's 40 of those apartment buildings that are being constructed all at once. And this is in remote China. Yeah, there's cranes everywhere. Yeah, I changed provinces. Once now I'm in another province, and now they have English translations. So I had seen this sign for about 400 miles, and then I get to read what it was. Oh yeah, I was in the desert. Nope. Yeah, no kidding. And in China still, there's still hotels that are for Chinese only, and non-tourist hotels. When they had the Olympics in Beijing a couple of years ago, there was a declaration that the Chinese would open the hotels to everyone. Well, that may have been true in Beijing and in the eastern part of the country, okay, for tourists. But in the western part and in the north, I would try to go into a hotel and they wouldn't let me in because I wasn't Chinese. There was still so-called, I had to go to a tourist hotel. It was pretty correct. It was dumpy. The tourist hotels weren't that good. So I can imagine, I was just assumed that the Chinese hotels were, I don't know. I just got booted. They would not let me in. People ask me, what did I eat in China? The first day in China, I got to a little bit of a store, and I saw a pre-cooked, packaged, vacuum-sealed, room temperature chicken, a chicken leg, 30 cents, okay? I took it outside, I opened up, I ate it, I went back in, bought 10 more. I don't know what's down the road, okay? Now they have a can of fish of some sort. I can't read the label, but it looks like a can of tuna fish, okay? It's some kind of processed fish. Brought it outside, opened it up, ate it, went, again, 30 cents, I went in and bought 10 more. So I got I'm doing good here. So now I go back inside and they had like packaged bread in cellophane. So I bought 2 of those. And then my 4th staple was cookies. They had plenty of all kinds of sweet cookies that were packaged, so I bought like 3 packages of cookies. So I figure I got kind of a good cross of food here, and I ate like that for about 10 days. Something like that for about, I couldn't go into the cafes. I couldn't read the menu. It didn't work. I tried a couple times. They would look at me, I would look at them, I'd walk out, But then I ran into this kid, who's Chinese. He's going to Shanghai. He's going the same direction as me. He's about 22 years old. He's leaving his family farm. It's all good. He's on good terms with everybody. And he's going to go to Shanghai to start a new life. He's going to go to college. He's going to get a job. He's going to find a place to stay. He's got all his worldly possessions, and he's cycling. At this point, it's still 2,000 miles away. And he's cycling to Shanghai. But he spoke just enough English that we could now eat in cafes, and he could order for me. So I'd say, okay, if they got steamed rice, I'll take it. Steamed vegetables, I'll take it. And if they have lamb, and he would call it mutton, but it's okay. Because I see lamb, it has a taste. Lamb, it has a look, okay? I'll have lamb also. But I said, no beef. I don't want any beef because I didn't know what his interpretation of beef was or what their interpretation of beef was. I would stay away from beef. I think it could be a general term, so I was afraid of beef, but I would eat mutton. And so for 10 days I was with him, and then I lost him. We had to separate. It was all good. He couldn't ride anymore. So I had like my own interpreter, my own guide. It was really good. I had to slow down for him, but it didn't matter. I had somebody that knew the language. 5,000 miles at this point. I'm still with my buddy. This is just a hotel / a restaurant that I stayed in. It was all right. Again, $6, no running water. This is the Great Wall of China. At this stage, there's a closer shot, and this is the first time he sees it. At this part of the world, it's just a clay mound. It's falling apart, but that's what it looks like over there. At some points, they actually cut right through the Great Wall of China, and they built a road through it. But he was all emotional. It was a big deal for this guy. We had to stay. We had to take pictures, and he had to go up and touch it, and so I just hung back. It was a big deal. We saw the Great Wall for about 3 days in a row, and then we didn't see it again. The great, mud mound is what it is. Fascinating. Just what was it? 4,000 years old? 5,000? We're in some kind of a government federal building or something, and they fed us and they housed us, and they we're eating hammy melons here. They let us spend the night on the pavement, so we set up our tents on asphalt. I have a little bit of a cushion, so it wasn't bad. But on the other side of the wall there, it's like a grassy area, and I say to the kid, Lynn, I think his name was, why can't we put our tents up in right there? It's real nice, smooth grass and stuff. And he said, so he asked the guy who ran the building, wouldn't it be better to put our tents up over there? And he said, well, that's the bathroom. We didn't do that. That was the bathroom. It's the truth. It's a government building. Yeah, they had no bathrooms. Now this is actually pretty interesting. Now this is the same place. And if you look in the back, this is the kitchen, and that's a wood-fired stove back there. So he made us lunch on that stove. No electricity. Actually, they had electricity, but the kitchen ran on a wood stove. Yeah. But they did have electricity because I remember us using our laptops there. So the trip is winding down here. This part of this is not smog. This is fog. but they do litter. Unfortunately, they do litter. I didn't see polluted streams. But I did see littering where they, we used to do it. I think if anybody's old enough, we used to throw our empty bottle out the window, okay, many years ago on 128, but then the Johnson administration stopped that, Well, they still litter. So they're bad, they're 50 years behind us when it comes to that, okay? They'll take the plastic bottle and throw it out, what have you. I didn't see polluted streams, but I saw streams that were littered. Hotel room, $7. I check in, he gives me a bowl of water. That's for whatever I need it for. The bathroom, like everywhere else, is somewhere outside. That's the way I eat with chopsticks for 6 weeks. Yeah. That too. I got pretty good. Yeah. I was sitting across a woman. Super long tunnel, slow down, ahead 3 kilometers. The English translation of some of their things is pretty interesting. I was sitting across a woman who was eating chopsticks with the peas, and she was going like 1 a second, she was going boink, 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 with chopsticks, with peas. I said, man, you should belong in the Hall of Fame. Yeah. At some point within 300 miles of Shanghai, and it's coming up now, I'm out of tires, I'm out of tubes, the bike's falling apart, the cities are getting big now. What was good, especially a city like this, every night they have the outdoor market. At some part of the city, it's the outdoor dinner market. And so now I can point, I've lost my friend, my Chinese friend, but I can point to what I want. And so that works. So I would look for the markets, I would ask where it was, like Chinatown. And so it was all good. But sure, there's highs and lows. The next day I could actually see people eating off the ground. You'd see that. It's unfortunate, but that stuff still happens. It's pretty sad cases. So I'm at 6,000 miles here, and my trip is falling apart. And the biggest problem now is I'm in major cities now, and now I'm getting lost. It's awful. And people say the language. They ask about the language problems. Well, sleeping and eating translates well. Sleep, eat. Okay, they got that figured out. What doesn't translate well is when you're lost. That doesn't go anywhere. I can't tell them where I am or where I want to be or where I want to go. They can't tell me where I am and where to go. So I started getting lost. So right at this point, I'm about 300 or 400 miles away from Shanghai. I see a main bus terminal. I pull in. I say, Shanghai. They go, yes. I say, how much? They go, 20 yuans or whatever. I go bicycle. They say, okay, in 30 minutes I'm on a bus for a 6-hour ride to Shanghai. And it was a smart decision. I was getting lost too often. So I get to Shanghai, I sit in a hotel for a couple of days, and I talk to Susan, and everything's still okay. So I do Travelocity. I go Shanghai, LA, Shanghai, San Francisco, Shanghai, Seattle. And Shanghai, San Francisco came up as a direct flight. I took it, and what I did was I knew people in Berkeley. So with 24 hours notice, I say, hey, I'm going to be at the San Francisco airport tomorrow. You want to pick me up? And they did. And they did. I emailed them. They did. They picked me up at San Francisco airport. I went to Berkeley's, 30 miles away. And I spent the night in Berkeley. I went to REI, Berkeley, got gear, got new tires, got the bike fixed a little bit. And it was all good. And now, now I'm going to head home and I didn't take a day off. I averaged 90 miles a day all the way home. But the thing is, I think I'm home free. I'm in America, McDonald's, Starbucks. I think I'm home free. But that middle ride through the Rockies, not the Canadian Rockies, from here, that middle, it's 700 miles of desert and mountains. I was in trouble. I wasn't going to fail, but it didn't get easy until I got to Fort Collins, which is just north of Denver, and then I started to go downhill into Nebraska. It got a little bit easier, but I still suffered for 10 more days. Could not get out of the mountains and couldn't get out of the elevator, the heat. So yeah, 8,000 feet, you know, what's Mount Washington? 6,700? You're higher than Mount Washington already. 8,000 feet of somewhere in California. There's the desert. Interesting, you know, Google this thing. That is a little stagecoach stop in the, I was gonna sleep in the desert again, and I was getting tired of doing that, okay, because you don't want to shower. That's the thing, though, you want to shower, okay? I can sleep in my tent, but it's the washout after all day in the desert. And this place showed up on, it wasn't on my map, it showed up out of nowhere. And it was like the Midwest, the Old West, and it was so good. There was 17 people that lived there. That's what it was. And they actually have a website, I think, and that's real. That's not a movie. That's what it looked like. And they were actually filming a movie there. I think I'm in it. They were filming a movie there that month. I slept outside that night, but they did, because the rooms were full, but at least I was able to shower, sit, laptop stuff. That was the bathroom, I think. Middlegate Station, I believe I don't know if it's Nevada or California, but it's called Middlegate Station. And it was great. So, in the next 2 days, I had some good fortune. The MS riders, you know, like 50 of them, coming across the U.S. from the east. I'm going west, so we cross paths, so I take advantage of their services. They have the food truck and water and what have you, so I cross paths with them. And you know, you talk and what have you. And then the next day, the cancer guys were right behind me on their cross-country trek. So I crossed paths with them. And this is in the desert, so this is good. I was able to load up on water and food and take advantage of their services. The film's, the show's almost over here. I stopped taking fewer pictures now. I want to get home, you know, is what's happening. There's a shot, you know, how far is that? You're looking into the, you know, down that road. You don't know if it's 1 mile or 10. And, yeah. So, you know that when I left my cheap hotel that morning, I had to go 83 miles with no services. So, I was able to carry 6 water bottles on my bike, but I was able to rig it to carry 10 if I wanted to. And I carried 10 bottles, and I was down to my last. And I can tell you what it's like to be down to your last. When you're down to your last, when this is all you got left, you're not moving anymore. You're done. Because you're drinking so much water that to move another 5 miles means you're going to drink this. Then what do you do?
And it's hot.
Yeah, hot water. But then, so when you're down to this, you don't move anymore. Because you already need water. You don't have any water. Yeah. It happened a couple times, but not often. In China, sometimes I got water and they came back to you. You asked somebody for water and they filled up your water bottles and came back boiling. They boiled the water. Yep. That's the Salt Flats. I'm at 7,000 miles here. Somewhere in Colorado or somewhere. Utah. Yeah. Rabbit Ears Pass. You have the Continental Divide. Tough. It's just really hard. I'm a pretty good cyclist, but damn, you know, that going up 10,000 feet is never easy. This was very good. If you're ever going to cross the United States, don't do it there. 15-mile downhill. Not bad. That's fun. So by the time I got to Iowa, around Iowa, I started doing the math backwards. I said, okay, I'm about 1,300 miles away from home, okay? All right, so, this is this guy. Let me first, let's do this guy. Actually, this guy was walking from New York to California. He was out of college, hadn't got a job yet. He's going to walk across the United States. I meet him somewhere in Nebraska. And so, of course, you exchange stories. And, you know, he had a website at the time, jamesiswalking.com. I think the website is down, but if you Google it, you'll find something about him. He was averaging 30 miles a day walking. He was pushing this cart, like a postman, okay? He had a Rubbermaid cart on 4 wheels or 3 wheels, whatever that was, and he was pushing it across with his tent and sleeping bag. He was averaging 30 miles a day, which is pretty good. But he told me at the time that his longest day to that point was 40. He walked 40 miles. So when I got back home before he got to San Diego, so I looked him up, you know, I went to the website, James is Walking. And he was somewhere in Colorado or something at the time, I forget. He had just completed his longest day yet walking, 60 miles in one day. Now do the math, okay? If you can walk 4 miles an hour, which is pretty brisk, that's 15-minute miles. If you can walk 4 miles an hour, that means you walked for 15 hours that day. Think about that. Oh my God. That's overwhelming to think that you would ever, yeah, he had walked 60 miles that day. And I checked on him later, he finished, he made it all the way. Yeah, walked all the way to San Diego. So what I was doing, to me, it was child's play compared to what he's doing. You know. So, again, by the time I get to Iowa, I do the math backwards, I think I'm at about 1,300 miles away from home. I say, well, if I could average, in 12 days, it'll be Sunday night. I want to get home for Sunday night. Susan will be home from work, all of that stuff. Maybe my son will be there. So I had to average 112 miles a day for the last like 10, 12, or 13 days, and I did. I stayed on pace, 112 miles a day for the last like 12 days to get home for Sunday night. That's a spoke coming through the rim.